Hello again, beautiful readers, and welcome back to another Reading in the Rainstorm video, where we bring you a new thrilling story every single week. Today's story is called Aspen's Unexpected Adventure. If you enjoy our content, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, as it really does help us grow. Thank you for your support, and we hope that you enjoy the story. Chapter 1. The morning sun bathed the Crater Lake Mountains in a warm, golden glow as Aspen and her family set out on their long-awaited camping trip. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and fresh earth. Aspen's heart swelled with excitement as she walked alongside her parents and younger brother, Ethan, on the well-marked trail. This was their annual tradition, a time to disconnect from the chaos of everyday life and reconnect with nature. Aspen, a spirited 12-year-old with a mop of unruly curls and bright, curious eyes, felt right at home in the wilderness. She loved the outdoors and had spent countless weekends exploring the nearby woods and learning basic survival skills from her father. Today, she was eager to put her knowledge to the test, and she couldn't wait to impress her family with her camping prowess. As the day wore on, the family hiked deeper into the mountains, the landscape gradually changing from lush greenery to rugged terrain. They laughed, shared stories, and marveled at the breathtaking scenery. The trail meandered close to a glistening lake, reflecting the azure sky like a perfect mirror. But soon, the once clear sky darkened, and ominous clouds rolled in, warning of an approaching storm. "We should head back to the campsite," Aspen's father, Mark, suggested, glancing at the gathering clouds. "Looks like we might get some rain." Nodding in agreement, the family turned around to retrace their steps. But nature had other plans. The storm hit with unexpected fury, bringing torrential rain, howling winds, and blinding flashes of lightning. The deafening thunder swallowed their shouts as the group struggled to find their way back. In the confusion and chaos, Aspen realized she had fallen behind. Panic surged through her as she tried to catch up with her family, but the thickening forest disoriented her, and the torrential downpour made it nearly impossible to see or hear anything. "Mom! Dad! Ethan!" she screamed, her voice lost in the tempest. But there was no answer. In a panic, Aspen continued to call out, her heart pounding in her chest. She pushed forward, tripping over roots and slipping in the mud. With every step, she felt more lost and alone. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the rain started to subside. Aspen found herself in a small clearing, surrounded by tall trees that loomed like ancient sentinels. She sank to her knees, breathing heavily, and wiped rainwater from her face. Fear gnawed at her, and her thoughts turned to her family, wondering where they were and if they were safe. With a deep breath, Aspen clung to her survival training. She knew that panicking would only make things worse. She remembered the basics: find shelter, stay calm, and make a plan. She checked her pockets for her small survival kit, which held a compass, a pocket knife, and a few other essentials. Though the mountains were vast and unfamiliar, Aspen decided she had to keep moving. She gathered some branches and fashioned a crude shelter to protect herself from any lingering rain. She searched for any signs of civilization, hoping to find a familiar landmark that might guide her back to the campsite. But the dense forest offered no clear path, and the setting sun cast long shadows that made everything even more disorienting. Aspen curled up under her makeshift shelter, her clothes still damp, and held on tightly to a picture of her family she always carried with her. Tears welled up in her eyes as she thought of them, wondering if they were searching for her too. "I won't give up," Aspen whispered to herself, her voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. "I will find my way back. I can survive this." With renewed determination, Aspen prepared herself for the night ahead, vowing to draw upon every bit of survival knowledge she possessed. The mountain wilderness was both her challenge and her companion, and she was determined to prove that she could endure and find her family once again. Chapter 2. The night descended upon the Crater Lake Mountains, wrapping Aspen in an inky shroud of darkness. The woods came alive with the sounds of creatures rustling in the underbrush. Fear gnawed at her heart as she huddled under the makeshift shelter, trying to shield herself from the chill that seeped into her bones. Her thoughts drifted to her family, imagining them gathered around a flickering campfire, worried and searching for her. Aspen clung to the hope that they were safe, that they had not been separated by the same storm that had torn her away from them. But she couldn't allow herself to dwell on those thoughts for long. She needed to focus on survival. The night passed slowly, and with the first rays of dawn, Aspen emerged from her shelter. The forest was eerily quiet now, and she realized how utterly alone she was. The morning light revealed the extent of the storm's damage: trees felled by the powerful winds, debris scattered across the forest floor, and the trail she had followed just a day before was barely recognizable. Aspen assessed her situation. Her clothes were still damp, making her shiver despite the slight warmth of the morning sun. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, reminding her of the need to find food. With determination in her heart, she remembered her father's advice about foraging for edible plants. She began to carefully search for berries, nuts, and any other signs of sustenance. She spotted some wild strawberries, which she knew were safe to eat. Gathering them in her hands, she savored their sweet taste, grateful for this small comfort amidst the uncertainty of her situation. But hunger wasn't her only concern. Aspen knew that finding a clean water source was equally vital. Remembering the basic water purification techniques she had learned, she located a nearby stream and fashioned a makeshift filter using a clean piece of cloth from her survival kit. Slowly, she collected water and filtered it, ensuring she had a safe supply to drink. Throughout the day, Aspen moved carefully through the wilderness, trying to orient herself by observing the position of the sun. She didn't want to wander too far from the general area where her family had been camping. She knew that staying near the campsite increased the chances of them finding each other again. The forest was full of life, and Aspen encountered several animals along the way. A curious raccoon stared at her from a distance, and she saw a majestic deer grazing peacefully. These encounters both comforted and worried her. On one hand, she felt a connection to the living world around her. On the other hand, she knew that where there was prey, there were predators too. Her worries were confirmed when she stumbled upon large paw prints in the mud. The prints were unmistakable; they belonged to a bear. Aspen's heart pounded in her chest, and she knew she had to stay vigilant. While bears usually avoided humans, she also knew that a cornered or threatened animal could be dangerous. With the knowledge she had gathered from books and her father's teachings, she took precautions to avoid attracting bears, making sure to hang her food high in a tree and steer clear of any potential bear dens or feeding areas. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Aspen found herself back near the small clearing where she had spent the previous night. She knew she couldn't risk building a fire. The smoke might attract unwanted attention, both from animals and people who might not have good intentions. Instead, she curled up under her shelter again, wrapping herself in whatever dry clothing she had. The night was long and filled with tension. Aspen listened carefully to every rustle in the bushes, every snap of a twig, her senses heightened to the maximum. Fear lingered, but she refused to let it consume her. She focused on her survival skills, taking deep breaths to calm herself. Aspen knew she couldn't control the vast wilderness around her, but she could control her response to it. Determined to outlast the ordeal, she embraced the darkness, accepting that survival meant embracing the harsh reality of the wilderness and using her wits to stay alive. The Crater Lake Mountains held many secrets and challenges, but Aspen was determined to navigate them all, growing stronger with every passing moment, as she held on to the hope that one day, she would reunite with her family. Chapter 3. Dawn broke once again, and Aspen stirred from her restless sleep under the shelter. Despite the fatigue weighing on her, she knew she had to keep moving. The uncertainty of her family's whereabouts haunted her, but she refused to surrender to despair. She clung to her survival training and her determination to endure. With a sense of urgency, Aspen set out on her journey for the day. She decided to head uphill, hoping that a higher vantage point might help her spot familiar landmarks or signs of civilization. As she climbed, the forest became denser, and the terrain more challenging, but she pushed on, the adrenaline and the need to survive driving her forward. Suddenly, through the thick foliage, Aspen glimpsed something that caught her attention, a glimmer of light reflecting off glass. Intrigued, she followed the direction of the light until she stumbled upon an old, weathered cabin nestled between the trees. It was a dilapidated structure, but it offered the promise of shelter and the possibility of finding something useful inside. Aspen approached the cabin with caution, her senses alert for any signs of danger. She pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside, greeted by the smell of must and decay. The cabin appeared abandoned, yet it held remnants of a life once lived, old books, utensils, and worn-out furniture. Feeling both nervous and hopeful, Aspen began to search for anything that could aid her survival. She found a faded map hanging on the wall, which she carefully examined, hoping it might reveal her current location and possibly a way back to the campsite. To her surprise, the map was not of the surrounding area, but of a different region altogether, suggesting that the cabin belonged to someone who was not local to these mountains. The unexpected twist puzzled Aspen. How did this cabin end up in a place far from its apparent origins? Could there be other people nearby, possibly ones who could help her find her family? Aspen's curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to explore further. In one corner of the cabin, she noticed a hidden trapdoor beneath a worn-out rug. Intrigued, she pulled the rug aside and lifted the trapdoor, revealing a dark and narrow staircase leading downwards. Aspen hesitated, her mind racing with thoughts of potential danger. She knew she should be cautious, but she also felt an inexplicable pull, as if there was something down there that she needed to discover. With a deep breath, she descended the stairs, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. The stairway opened into a dimly lit underground chamber, revealing a hidden space beneath the cabin. To her amazement, Aspen found herself standing amid a vast collection of ancient artifacts, dusty books, and peculiar symbols scrawled across the walls. It seemed like the hidden chamber held secrets of an age-long past. The realization struck her that this cabin was not just an ordinary shelter. It was connected to something mysterious and ancient. Aspen's mind raced with questions, but before she could unravel the enigma of the hidden chamber, she heard faint echoes of voices approaching from outside. Fear and excitement mixed within her as she quickly closed the trapdoor, hoping to remain unseen and unnoticed. Peering out from a cracked window, Aspen spotted a group of people dressed in old-fashioned attire approaching the cabin. They looked lost and confused, similar to how she felt when she first got separated from her family. She overheard them speaking about a powerful artifact that was said to hold the key to time manipulation, the very artifact Aspen had glimpsed moments ago in the hidden chamber. Realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. The cabin and its hidden chamber were not just coincidental, they were linked to a long-forgotten legend, a tale of temporal power and ancient mysteries. Now, Aspen faced a crucial decision. Should she reveal herself to these strangers and potentially seek their help in finding her family? Or should she keep her presence a secret, fearing that they might be dangerous or have sinister intentions toward the artifact and her loved ones? Caught in a web of uncertainty, Aspen knew that her survival and the fate of her family depended on the choices she would make in the days to come. The hidden cabin had unexpectedly become the gateway to a journey far beyond a simple camping trip, as Aspen found herself entangled in a centuries-old mystery that held the power to change her life forever. Chapter 4. Aspen remained hidden in the shadows of the underground chamber, listening intently to the strangers' conversation outside the cabin. Their talk was filled with excitement and urgency, discussing the powerful artifact they sought, an hourglass rumored to possess the ability to manipulate time itself. Her heart pounded as she contemplated her next move. The strangers could be her only chance of finding her family, but they were also on a quest for the very artifact she had stumbled upon. She knew she needed to act carefully, as the wrong choice could endanger not only her own survival but also the well-being of those she loved. After much contemplation, Aspen decided to reveal herself to the strangers. She couldn't let fear hold her back from seeking their help. Slowly, she climbed back up the narrow staircase and cautiously stepped outside the cabin. The group of strangers, dressed in attire from a different era, turned their attention toward her as she emerged. They appeared surprised to see a young girl in the wilderness, but they also seemed intrigued by her presence. "Who are you, child, and what are you doing here?" asked a woman with a stern yet curious gaze. "My name is Aspen," she replied, trying to appear composed. "I got separated from my family during a storm. I'm lost, and I need help finding them." The group exchanged glances, their expressions softening with empathy. The woman stepped forward and introduced herself as Amelia, a historian and researcher with an interest in ancient artifacts. She explained that they were part of an organization dedicated to preserving and studying historical relics, and the hourglass they sought was one of the most significant artifacts they had come across. Aspen hesitated for a moment, then decided to trust them with her own discovery. She spoke about the hidden chamber beneath the cabin and how she had found the mysterious hourglass there. Amelia's eyes widened with astonishment. "You found the chamber? That's incredible." Aspen's revelation seemed to have changed the dynamics of the situation. The strangers now viewed her not just as a lost girl but as someone who might hold valuable information about their quest. Seeing an opportunity to find her family, Aspen shared everything she knew about the cabin's history and the hourglass's supposed time-manipulating powers. With this newfound alliance, Aspen felt a glimmer of hope that they might help her find her family. In return, they promised to assist her in any way they could and to share their knowledge about the artifact's origins. Aspen joined the group in their search for the hourglass, navigating through the dense wilderness together. Along the way, Amelia and the others explained that the hourglass had once been part of an ancient civilization that had harnessed its time-altering abilities for both good and ill. They believed that finding and protecting it was crucial, as its misuse could have disastrous consequences. As they delved deeper into the mountains, Aspen noticed a gradual change in the atmosphere. The air grew charged with an otherworldly energy, and the very ground seemed to pulse with ancient power. The closer they got to their destination, the more Aspen's instincts warned her of the magnitude of what they were about to encounter. Finally, after days of journeying through the treacherous terrain, they arrived at a hidden cave tucked away in the heart of the mountains. The entrance was adorned with ancient symbols, indicating the sanctity and secrecy of the place. With bated breath, the group stepped into the cave's depths, the light from their torches casting eerie shadows on the walls. As they ventured further, the air crackled with energy, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Suddenly, they beheld an awe-inspiring sight, an enormous hourglass, suspended in the heart of the cave, radiating an ethereal glow. The strangers marveled at the artifact, their eyes reflecting a mix of wonder and reverence. Aspen sensed that this moment marked a turning point in her quest for her family. This enigmatic hourglass held answers, not only about her family's whereabouts but also about the untold mysteries of time itself. Aspen knew that her journey was far from over. The discovery of the ancient hourglass had led her to an adventure she could never have imagined. She was now on the precipice of unraveling secrets that spanned centuries, and she would need all her courage and resourcefulness to navigate the challenges that lay ahead. The journey had brought Aspen closer to her destiny, and she was ready to face whatever trials and tribulations awaited her as she ventured deeper into the unknown. With the stranger's support and her own unyielding determination, she was prepared to confront the mysteries of the Crater Lake Mountains and the ancient hourglass, hoping that her quest would lead her to the reunion she so desperately sought. Chapter 5. Aspen's heart raced as she stood before the ancient hourglass, its ethereal glow captivating her senses. The strangers around her exchanged whispers, each eager to explore the artifact's secrets, but Aspen couldn't shake the gnawing worry about her family's fate. She knew she had to remain focused on her primary mission, finding them. Amelia, the historian, approached Aspen with a reassuring smile. "We'll do everything we can to help you locate your family," she said, her voice brimming with sincerity. Grateful for their support, Aspen felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew she couldn't afford to let her emotions cloud her judgment. Instead, she needed to understand the hourglass's power and its potential connection to her family's disappearance. As the group began studying the ancient symbols surrounding the hourglass, Aspen recounted her own discovery, the hidden chamber beneath the cabin, which appeared to be linked to this mysterious artifact. The strangers listened attentively, their eyes widening with awe and curiosity. They believed that the chamber might be the key to unlocking the secrets of the hourglass and its connection to time manipulation. With a shared determination, Aspen and the strangers decided to return to the cabin to investigate further. They believed that the hidden chamber held the missing pieces of the puzzle, the key to understanding how the hourglass worked and possibly how to locate her family. Upon their return, they re-entered the underground chamber. Armed with their knowledge and the symbols they had studied, they carefully examined the walls, floors, and every inch of the space. Amelia deciphered the ancient script, revealing fragments of the hourglass's history and its use by an ancient civilization long gone. Aspen's eyes widened as she learned about the hourglass's role as a temporal nexus, a device that allowed access to specific points in time. She realized that this temporal power might have drawn her family into a different era, explaining their inexplicable disappearance. Determined to utilize the hourglass's potential, Aspen and the strangers embarked on a perilous task, manipulating time to locate her family. They followed the ancient instructions, carefully turning the hourglass's sand, focusing their thoughts on the exact moment of her family's disappearance. The chamber began to pulse with energy, and an otherworldly aura surrounded the hourglass. Aspen's heart pounded with hope and trepidation, praying that their efforts would bear fruit. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the hourglass, enveloping everyone in its luminous embrace. The chamber seemed to dissolve around them, and Aspen felt herself being pulled into a vortex of swirling colors and sensations. In that moment, she understood the true power of the hourglass. It held the key to traverse time itself, a journey that could be both wondrous and dangerous. When the light finally faded, Aspen found herself standing in a place that defied explanation. It was an ancient forest, vibrant and alive, yet strangely different from the Crater Lake Mountains she knew. The air crackled with energy, and Aspen realized that they had indeed traveled through time. Amelia and the others marveled at the spectacle, but Aspen's mind was solely focused on finding her family. Her heart led her forward, through the ancient trees and overgrown foliage. As she pressed on, she caught sight of a familiar figure in the distance. "Mom! Dad! Ethan!" Aspen cried out, running toward them with tears streaming down her cheeks. Her family turned toward her, disbelief etched on their faces. They had been separated in time as well, but now, they were miraculously reunited. Embracing her parents and younger brother, Aspen felt overwhelming relief and joy. The hourglass had brought them back together, transcending the boundaries of time to reunite the family. Aspen thanked Amelia and the strangers for their invaluable help, for without them, she would have never discovered the hourglass's true potential. Amelia reassured Aspen that she and her family were always welcome to join their organization and continue their quest to understand the artifacts of the past. Aspen declined the offer, knowing that her family's place was in the present, and their journey had just begun. They had been forever changed by their harrowing adventure, but they were ready to return to their lives and cherish the moments they had together. With grateful hearts, Aspen and her family returned to the hidden chamber, where the hourglass still glowed with its mystical power. Aspen hesitated for a moment, contemplating the allure of time manipulation, but ultimately, she realized that life's most precious moments were meant to be experienced in their own time and not altered by external forces. Gathering her courage, Aspen turned the hourglass once more, sending them back to their own era. The chamber dissolved around them, and they found themselves standing once again in the underground chamber beneath the cabin. Aspen knew that their adventure had changed them all, and the memories of their time-traveling experience would remain with them forever. The ancient hourglass would remain protected by the strangers, a powerful artifact safeguarded for the future. Hand in hand, Aspen and her family emerged from the cabin, forever bonded by their shared journey. Their camping trip to the Crater Lake Mountains had turned into an extraordinary tale of survival, mystery, and the unyielding power of love and family. As they walked back into the embrace of nature, Aspen looked back one last time at the ancient cabin and the hidden chamber. She knew that the wilderness held many secrets, and though they were leaving behind an adventure unlike any other, Aspen was certain that her future would be filled with new discoveries, and her family would face whatever challenges came their way, together. Well folks, that's it for today. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, or if you have a prompt you'd like us to use to write a future story for the channel. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in the next video. Happy reading!